Hello, and this is Talk Time with Stand Stan. This is part 2, although they don't need to be watched in any particular order. We're going to talk about some more miscellaneous topics. The topic at hand we'll start off with is the catchphrase that Confused Mathuew uses is, "A wizard did it." So, if you could, Stan, let's talk about "A wizard did it." What movies did a wizard do it in?
Well, Star Trek Generations, which my brother recently reviewed, comes to mind. The whole "a wizard did it" thing, I actually think Confused Mathuew would agree with me on this. A wizard did it is fine as long as the event that we're talking about that a wizard did is trivial in comparison to the overall story. When all you have in the film, or when a film is so underwritten and so uninteresting that that kind of "a wizard did it" thing just leaps out at you and there's nothing to take your focus away from it, I think it's then it becomes a problem. When the stories are so poorly constructed that those are just hanging there while you're watching them, I think that's when it becomes a problem.
Star Trek. If, let's say, I made this same movie, but I called it Space Odyssey 101, and I renamed all the characters, would we be as harsh as we were? I was very harsh on this movie. Would you be as harsh as you were on this movie if it wasn't called Star Trek?
No.
So if this hadn't been called Star Trek, you would have been a lot nicer to this movie.
Star Trek, I think, has a intrinsic responsibility to be about big ideas. And my biggest problem, I should say, and all the great politicians have a rule that you should never say anything that you'll have to apologize for later. If you do, don't apologize for them. But I will apologize, sort of, in some sense, apologize for two things. Did the review with Confused Mathuew right after I saw the film, and I said two things that were really knee-jerk and really emotionally charged without thinking about it. The film was not terrible, and I did not hate it. That is a retraction to something that I said in the film was not about any big ideas. There were no big ideas in the film. There were very small ideas. There were very basic ideas. Those ideas presented in the film weren't done terribly. They just weren't done particularly well. I think that Star Trek has the responsibility of being about big ideas, and science fiction sort of does, but if this were a different science fiction film, the different name and the characters' names were different, I probably would have, honestly, sort of dismissed the film as just fun, just a bit of fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. We would watch movies for fun all the time. Not every movie has to be a big, cumbersome idea, exploration of the human condition. Some movies are just fun, and that's fine. I don't think that Star Trek has the leeway to be just fun. I think if you take the big ideas out of it, that it ceases to be Star Trek fundamentally.
Another question asked on the Confused Mathuew forums was, had you guys seen Galaxy Quest, and what were your thoughts on that?
I saw Galaxy Quest probably 6 or 7 years, almost a decade ago. I don't remember it. I remember that I laughed. I remember that I thought it was funny, and I remember that I had a good time watching it. He saw Galaxy Quest 2, actually. He referenced it to me. He may have done this in his Star Wars Episode 1 review, but the part in Episode 1 where they're sword fighting, and there's this, there are all these, laser walls that keep opening and closing, Quest, and he shouted, "Why is this even here?" So, yeah, I think he has seen it, actually.
General Cord says, just a question, but why doesn't Stan have a tab on the website? It would be nice. It would be cheaper in the long run to add Stan's reviews on this site as well. It doesn't have to take up a lot of space, just a little exclamation light bulb.
I actually presented that idea to Confused Mathuew before he even constructed the foundation of the website. I said, could we have a little place on here called Stan's Corner? And I'd like it to be called that, Stan's Corner.
And he said, no, screw you, get out of here.
No, he said, yeah, I think that would be a good idea. You have to understand, Matthew is extremely busy most of the time with work, with his job, and making the website was sort of a luxury for him while he was making it, and he didn't have time. There are other things that I know personally he'd like to include in the website that he hasn't really had the time to do or even to seriously consider. He's a very hardworking person, and there probably will be a Stan's Corner eventually.
Okay. Edit!
Well, if that's my ambition, I'd say we're both doing a good job.
Okay. Okay. Okay, this is a question from Tori Gay. It was directed towards CM.
Give me 1 second, and don't put this in the video. Give me 1 second. I have to go get something. Literally 2 seconds.
No, that's going in the bloopers. Okay.
Okay. Give me a second. And if you don't for them.
Thanks for listening. This was part 2. More to come. Stay tuned. Until then, peace out.